Some of you who may know me may know that I don't really like to look at big brand named stuff. Like, that's fun and all, but it's also kind of boring, don't you think? I like taking a leap of faith every now and again and check out brands from lesser known companies, and that is exactly why in front of me here today is a mechanical keyboard from Machenike. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, the K7. Right off the bat, I think that the keyboard looks pretty cool and it seems to have a lot of promise, but how exactly does it perform and is it worth your money? Well, let's find out with a review on the Machenike K7. Right, so over on Lazada, there are actually 6 variants of this keyboard with either blue or black switches, RGB or without, and also with or without Bluetooth. Their prices range from 179 all the way to 239 ringgit, and the model that I have here with me today is the top end 104 keys RGB with blue switches that is capable of both wired and wireless. It costs 239 ringgit, which is the equivalent of $59 US, and most of my review and findings today can also be applied to the cheaper model, just sans whatever fancy features it may not have. The keyboard comes in quite a cool looking stylistic box, and I like it when companies do this because to me it shows that they care about their product. Inside the box you'll obviously find your keyboard, but Machenike also includes a keycap remover, a removable USB-C cable, and some manuals, though unfortunately they are not in English. As I mentioned before, you can use this variant that I have in both wireless and wired mode, and all you need to do is just flip a switch down the back to do just that. Oh, and of course plug in the provided 1.6 meter USB-C cable if you're planning to use it in wired mode. Bluetooth wireless mode uses Bluetooth 3.0 and works for Windows, Android, iOS, and macOS, and you even get little legends on the Alt and Windows key for Command and Option if you intend to use it on a Mac. You can also pair up to 3 devices to this keyboard, and all you need to do to get that going is to hold the FN key and hold on either 1, 2 or 3, and the Bluetooth light on the top right corner will begin flashing to let you know that it's in pairing mode. If you're using it wirelessly, there's a 2000 mAh battery keeping it alive, which Machenike states should last you about 60 hours of continuous use or about 12 days of normal use. The keyboard does have a gamery look to it, but it's honestly not something that I mind as it still manages to have quite a nice clean and uncluttered look. There is of course perky RGB backlighting, but you also get a glowing front corners, the right is lit with the Machenike logo, and the back has this grill-like thing. The top of the keyboard is made of metal and the keycaps are ABS, but they have some interesting sort of coating on them that gives them a very matte finish, and these feel pretty decent. However, I'd say that you'd probably want to refrain from touching the sides of the keycaps because the coatings on some of them are a bit uneven, causing this really rough texture on the sides. I like the font choice on the keys, but because the keycaps aren't double shot, the RGB illumination isn't as bright as what I would normally expect, and with the RGB backlighting being more on the top of the switch, keys with legends at the bottom are a bit dimmer. Speaking of RGB, there are several modes for you to choose from, but the strange thing about that is you don't adjust the modes via a key combination, but rather using a scroll wheel behind the escape key? Yeah, I'm not too sure why they decided to do this, because to me at least, once I find the lighting that I like, I'm never touching it again, and so I would have really preferred to see that as maybe a volume control wheel with the RGB controls moved to a key combination. We move on to the keys themselves, and I hope you like men. Wait, what? Because you get 104 of them, as the switches on this keyboard are made by men, and they're blue and non-removable. In terms of actual usage and comparison, I'm going to straight up say that this is one of the first times that I'm using a blue switch keyboard, so I don't really have a good basis for comparison, but based on my experiences, they're a bit on the heavy side at 60 grams of actuation force with 2.4 millimeters of travel distance. They're really loud and clicky. But I guess that's a blue switch, and I guess they're not too bad to type on once you get used to them. The stems also seem to have almost like a box design, though I found that it didn't really help that much with key wobble, as there was quite a bit of it on the keys when moving and pressing them. As a special mention, the keyboard has some pretty interesting FN functions that allow you to do things like launch Cortana or Siri, start voice recognition, which works when typing, do that Windows tab overview thing, launch an Explorer window, and if you're on a laptop, you can actually adjust the screen brightness directly from the keyboard. There is a bit of deck flex in the middle of the board if you press it pretty hard, but under normal use, I didn't find it noticeable. And the keyboard angle itself I find is a bit high, which has my wrists rotate upwards, and so I would have loved to see a wrist rest here for ergonomic reasons. In order to get the software for the keyboard, you'll have to navigate to their website that is fully in Chinese, because the button that says English in the top right corner doesn't really do anything apart from give you the company history in English, so I hope you have your Google page translate ready. In order to get the drivers, you'll have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and click on driver download. Again, click on another link that says driver download, please click. And then from there, select the peripheral category, and since this keyboard is the 104 key dual mode, click on the K7 dual templates download link. Initially, the software provided didn't work at all for me as it didn't detect the keyboard, and so I took a leap of faith and ran what looked like a firmware updater provided in the zip file, and after that, the software was able to recognize the keyboard. The software itself is in Chinese when you first start it up, but you can switch it to English by heading into the corner where the cog is, click on it, and from there switch it to English. From there, you gotta press the left button. I know it doesn't really look like a button, but if you press it, it'll update the UI to English. The software itself is honestly not too bad. It's actually pretty feature-filled with the ability to remap the keyboard entirely, mess with the RGB lighting, which has a lot of predefined settings and modes for you to choose from, including the option to customize each individual key. There's also a game mode that allows you to disable things like Alt F4, Alt Tab, and of course the Windows key, and over on the top left corner you can create multiple profiles and of course rename them. The only thing that I didn't really like about this software was the design and the look of it, as it felt a little bit difficult to tell where each button was, what was a button, and it's just a bit of a confusing design, and so I feel that with a facelift on their software, it can actually be quite a great companion. Alright, so let me close things off with the Machenike K7. It may not be the most premium fancy keyboard, but I really do feel that it comes at a really good value for the performance. The build quality is pretty good, the keycaps aren't PBT for sure, but they feel pretty nice to type on, and the design is quite nice and clean for a gaming keyboard. But I'm also going to tell you that you shouldn't buy this, or at least the one that I have, because if you don't need to use the keyboard wirelessly via Bluetooth, you can save a few bucks and get the variants with either smaller sizes or with or without RGB. The blue switches are honestly not to my taste because I'm more of a browns kind of guy, so if you see this keyboard on sale, I'm going to tell you that you might be interested in having this keyboard on your shortlist. That's it for this video. If you feel like getting one for yourself, I'll be sure to leave links down in the description below, and so like it if you liked it, share, comment your thoughts, subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, click the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my future videos. My name is Yang the Tech Rodent, and I will catch you guys in the next review. Kind of reminds me of like Guitar Hero and how I used to play with a keyboard. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'll see you guys around.